What's your name and title, please?
Sure. I'm Chris Cylke. I'm Senior Vice President of Gov't Relations at the American Gaming Association.
What sort of things do you work on?
We're a trade association based in Washington, D.C. We represent a variety of different stakeholders across the gaming industry, casino operators, both in the tribal and commercial side, those who manufacture equipment for the gaming industry, as well as regulated sports books and iGaming operators. So pretty much everybody in our tent, and we are a trade association that does both research, but also I lead up our advocacy function, which entails trying to get good policies both at the state and federal level, but increasingly, and which was the subject of our panel today, focusing on the offshore illegal gaming market, as well as the spread of, in the brick and mortar environment, gaming machines that are either illegal, but at the very least unregulated and not subject to the same standards as those that are within the AGA organization abide by.
So traditionally, I imagine gray market or gray area machines were a concern for gaming operators, right?
I think they're a concern. They should be a concern for everyone. I think we have an obvious concern based on the fact that we're operating in many jurisdictions where we're paying high licensing fees for that privilege, as well as high taxes, and these entities are spreading and into compete with what we're offering, also not paying any taxes. And I think a big part of our conversation today was also kind of the reputational risks of illegal and unregulated gambling, because they don't abide by the same commitments to responsible gaming. They don't have the same, big part of what we talked about here was the same kind of age verification that's required in the casino environment, where a convenience store clerk is not checking an ID, and underage gambling takes place. Also through the offshore, they're not doing the same kind of know your customer due diligence that takes place in the regulated market. And so I think the responsible gaming kind of consumer protection angle was one that was also highlighted here today.
So in this era of sports betting and online gaming, some states have sports betting. Sports betting is advertised in stadiums, even and on television. But for people who live in states that don't have legalized sports betting, where do they bet?
They have limited options, and I think we would be the first to acknowledge that. And I think our solution to that is them petitioning their state government and their state officials to solve that problem for them, so that they do have legal channels to bet. Because we know that we've done research that shows that consumers like betting first and foremost, and they're going to do it regardless of its legality. But they certainly prefer to have a legal, regulated channel to do that. Both from, they recognize that they're going to get paid, that there's going to be dispute resolution mechanisms in place if they have a problem. And also, as I mentioned, the responsible gaming aspect of it is also very, very important as well. And I know our operators do a lot to make sure that customers are not overextending themselves through their platforms or in a brick and mortar sportsbook environment.
What did some of the other speakers on the panel bring up?
Well, we had Ben Inman from the FBI. It's a big law enforcement entity, as people know, that we're hoping that's going to get much more involved in actively prosecuting, investigating some of the activity that we talked about here today, particularly as it relates to the offshore. I think this year we've seen state gaming regulators use their voice to alert the DOJ to their concerns about particularly offshore sports books and casinos, and some of the problems that and threats that they present to their regulated gaming markets. And I think the FBI agent Ben was they acknowledge it's a problem. It's a priority for the FBI, but there are also some significant challenges that come with trying to prosecute or investigate offshore entities where they may be in jurisdictions where we don't necessarily have a friendly relationship with their government or able to extradite people. Certainly there's an evolution in the technology behind some of these organizations where they're constantly changing their business model, makes them a little bit slippery to go after. But I think it was an encouraging conversation overall, and certainly encouraged to have state gaming regulators kind of emphasizing some of the points that we've been making about the need for the federal government to make this more of a priority.